There wasn't many people anticipating the release of this report because it was quite clear Joe Biden may have taken, or his staff, or him, it was his staff, taken documents from the White House that were unauthorized. But every president, I think in modern times, maybe ever, I don't know, have done this. One way or another, mistakenly taken documents that they weren't authorized to, or took documents that they ostensibly were going to use for memoirs that they didn't return.
Mike Pence, by the way, did this, and he's on the Republican side. He cooperated and returned them. Well,
the whole point is
right.
that the charge that Donald Trump is being faced with, and I don't have the specific statute right in front of me, but the statute is literally Section 18. I can't remember exactly what he is being charged with not returning the documents when requested, because he didn't. Over and over and over again, he did not. He did not.
Yeah.
Return them. In fact,
I have a lot going on.
Beyond that, he lied about returning the documents. These documents were found by Biden staffers and then returned. There was never I don't even know if there was a request that they be returned, because they were returned and found by the Biden people in the first place.
Yeah, and this document, or like the special counsel report here, says that Biden, quote, cooperated completely and, quote, sought no delays. That should be the top line, I guess, if you're the special counsel here, but this is a Republican special counsel.
Well, there's a whole nother, and we'll get deeper into this with Ryan Grimm. But the point being is that this special counsel, although he sort of said in two different places that there was no evidence ultimately of any of the sort of potential things that he could be charged with. So Joe Biden, but there were other elements of the report that Joe Biden obviously stuck in his craw.
Oh,
one being that in the report, it was claimed that he forgot when Beau Biden died. And it basically said, and we should say, it didn't say that he was an old man who couldn't remember things. It said that they weren't going to bring charges, in part because a jury would find him sympathetic as an old man who couldn't remember things. Nevertheless, Joe Biden ran, apparently, to insist upon having a press conference about it. Here's how it started, and it got worse after this, but let's play this. What are we starting? About 20 seconds in or so?
Yeah, I mean, this was the emergency press conference that he called, the emergency.
Yeah.
And when you hear that kind of thing, you think, oh my God, there's a massive international development. Perhaps he's making a shift on Israel, was my wishful thinking.
7:30, was it at?
Oh
I don't
my
know.
God, I get a notification on my phone, let's turn on cable. There's some big news happening. And really, it's just Biden is upset about the editorializing in the special counsel report.
Let me say a few things before I take your questions. As you know, the special counsel released his findings today about their look into my handling of classified documents. I was pleased to see he reached a firm conclusion that no charges should be brought against me in this case. This was an exhaustive investigation going back more than 40 years, even into the 1970s when I was still a new United States Senator. The special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely. I did not throw up any roadblocks. I sought no delays. In fact, I was so determined to give the special counsel what he needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over 2 days on October the 8th and 9th of last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th and I was very occupied. It was in the middle of handling an international crisis. I was especially pleased to see special counsel make clear the stark distinction and difference between this case and Mr. Trump's case. The special counsel wrote, and I quote, Several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear. Continuing to quote, most notably, after given multiple chances to return classified documents to avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast, he went on to say Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his home, sat for a voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation, end of quote. I've seen the headlines since the report was released about my willful retention of documents. These assertions are not only misleading, they're just plain wrong. On page 215, if you had a chance, I know it's a thick document. On page 215, the report of the special counsel found the exact opposite. Here's what he wrote. There is, in fact, a shortage of evidence that I willfully retained classified materials related to Afghanistan. On page 12, the special counsel also wrote for another documents. The decision to decline criminal charges was straightforward. The evidence suggests that Mr. Biden did not willfully retain these documents. The evidence said I did not willfully retain these documents. In addition, I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of... Every Memorial Day we hold a service remembering him, attended by friends and family and the people who loved him. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away or passed away.
Now, this would have been fine if he just wrapped it up here and then left, frankly. But he didn't, and we will play some other clips from it later. But to make the... we'll talk more about with Ryan Grimm, but to go on basically primetime television or close to it and do this is just one of the most blinkered sort of political moves that I think I've ever witnessed.
Are they just desperate for they thought maybe we can get a win out of this or something? What?
I don't think it is almost unfathomable to me that a professional political advisor would have done anything other than I don't know if we should do this.
Let's go to bed.
This really feels like Biden was like, I'm going to get out there. This sounds like, honestly, hubris, and which you would anticipate. But it also sounds like, conversations that I've had with people of that age around maybe you don't need to drive the full 3 hours.
Right.
Maybe we'll have somebody else drive.
I mean, the quote is, right? The quote that he said in there, I'm well-meaning and I'm an elderly man and I know what the hell I'm doing. That's what it sounds like if, you're putting, grandpa in the car or grandpa wants to drive. But what I think is most troubling to me about this is where it says his priorities are. He's rushing to the podium and making an emergency address, which is one of the first. Is this the first time he's done this in his presidency because he's paranoid or upset about the claims about his age and that being used against him politically? And that is where he thinks he needs to use the bully pulpit, where he needs to finally speak to the public to dispel these kinds of rumors. Where, he has so much concern about that being the narrative. And right now, there is, among the base of his own party, as Matt just described it, incandescent rage from 50% of the Democratic voters that supported him that think he is supporting a genocide. And that is not this is the kind of thing he calls an emergency press conference for. It's like, this just indicates to me what is being prioritized within the White House, within the administration, what is seen as a crisis and what isn't. And that is as scary to me as anything. Also, he made a bunch of gaffes in this speech about how he was mentally fit. Like, he confused Egypt and Mexico at one point, said El Sisi was the leader of Mexico.
Look, the gaffes. I mean, we have a clip of Jesse Waters talking about this whole thing, and then introducing the governor of South Carolina, Christian Nome. I mean, that happens, right? Like, that happens. The real mistake here, and let's just also be clear, just as a premise, this special counsel document is garbage.
Yes.
It is absolute garbage. The idea that you appoint someone like Merrick Garland and then they've got to have a Republican special counsel because you could never have a Democratic special counsel. If you're going to play this game and be this ignorant about what the Republicans are going to do, this is what's going to happen. And they're just not, I mean, it's political malpractice.
And people were comparing this to Comey, right? And Comey's basically press conference about how he's not going to charge Hillary Clinton, but these are all the ways that she messed up and was arrogant. And that's part of the problem when a Republican is leading this kind of investigation into you. These were clearly little landmines for Biden, but like just bites that this guy knew the right-wing media is going to pick up on. And this is
the exact sort of thing he should have been above and not stepped into. That's his whole brand, is like, you should be smarter than this.
Exactly. So it's about not charging the guy, but politically damaging him in the same way that's what happened with Clinton. And yeah, I mean, all of these things can be true at the same time, I think. But Biden's indignation, it seemed very emotional for him.
Well, of course, he was pissed.
Yeah.
But the point is like, you've got to run a campaign. All right, we're going to take a break, and and in a moment we'll talk more about this with Ryan Grimm, because this is an important election.
Yes.
And you want a certain level of political competence, and it feels like each day the administration or the campaign are just they're making these sort of broad miscalculations, and it feels just like Biden's just, I find it hard to believe that any like political professional is like, yes, we should call an emergency press conference. We should allow for,
call it in the morning, maybe.
It's Friday.
Yeah, but Matt,
Sam Friday today.
Yep.
This is when you do that. The press conference should be happening an hour ago. That's it. But all right, and now I'm going to need this actually. In a minute we'll be talking to Ryan Grimm.